Hello and welcome. Okay, let's just dive right in. If you've ever felt like using Google Sheets on your phone is just a battle against your own thumbs, well, this explainer is absolutely for you. We're going to completely transform how you see that little screen, turning it from a frustrating, cramped little box into a seriously powerful tool for getting work done wherever you are.
Does this look familiar? I bet it does. That endless pinching and zooming, tapping the wrong cell by accident, that constant feeling like you're trying to perform surgery with a sledgehammer. It's a super common frustration, but I promise you, it does not have to be this way. The solution is actually way simpler than you think.
And here it is. This is the heart of the issue right here. The problem isn't your phone's screen size. It's that we've all been trying to shrink our desktop habits down to fit that tiny screen, and it just doesn't work. The real key is to adopt a mobile-first mindset. Using the app the way it was actually designed to be used. So why do our amazing desktop skills totally fail us here? Well, it's because a mouse and keyboard give you a completely different kind of precision and control than a touchscreen does. When you try to copy those same mouse clicks and keyboard strokes on your phone, you just end up with inefficiency and a ton of errors. We need a whole new set of skills, built for touch. And that brings us to our first major strategy. I want you to think of these gestures as the mobile version of your favorite keyboard shortcuts, like Control-C or Control-V. Mastering them is the absolute foundation for becoming fast and, just plain good at using the Google Sheets mobile app.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. These simple actions replace those clumsy multi-step things we all do. So, instead of fumbling around trying to get the cursor in exactly the right place, you just double tap a cell, boom, you're in editing mode. Need to move an entire column? Don't even think about cutting and pasting. Just long press the column header until it kind of lifts up, then you just drag and drop it. It's so fluid and intuitive, and it's a massive, massive time saver.
And the app is super clever about using behaviors you already know. We all know how to pull down to refresh a social media feed, right? Well, it works the exact same way here to sync your data. And see that little bar at the bottom? Do not ignore it. The second you select a range of numbers, it instantly gives you the sum, the average, and more. It's like having a calculator built right into your selection. No formulas needed.
Okay, so we've covered the physical stuff, the gestures. Now let's talk about letting the app do the thinking for us. This is our second strategy, leveraging the app's built-in AI. And look, I know a lot of us are skeptical of AI, but in Google Sheets, it is not a gimmick. It's a practical workhorse, and it's designed to automate the most tedious tasks you have to do on a small screen.
Just look at this comparison for a second. On the left, you've got the frustrating way, scrolling forever, hunting for one piece of data, trying to manually build a chart. It's a nightmare. Then on the right, you have the smart way, where the app does all that heavy lifting for you. And the difference isn't just about speed. It's about accuracy and just saving yourself a headache.
The real magic, though, happens with the Explore feature. Seriously, it's like having a data analyst right in your pocket. You just select a bunch of data, tap Explore, and bam! It automatically analyzes it, suggests charts, gives you quick summaries, and it'll even recommend formulas. This is how you find real insights in seconds, not hours. Now, if the Explore feature is your analyst, then the Find tool is your trusty navigator. When you're working with big spreadsheets on a phone, you're always at risk of tapping the wrong cell. So instead of scrolling and searching, just use Find and Replace. You can jump instantly between every single instance of a word or a number. It is a total lifesaver for making sure your work is accurate.
All right, we've learned the new language of touch. We know how to use the app's AI. Our final strategy tackles the most obvious challenge of all, the small screen itself. This is where we get smart and start designing our workspace to overcome the physical limits of the phone so we can work with total clarity. The most fundamental tool for this is something called freezing panes. You know that feeling when you scroll way down into a big data set and you completely lose your headers? You forget if you're looking at sales for Q1 or Q2. Well, by freezing that top row or that first column, you lock your headers in place. It makes sure you always have context for the data you're looking at. This slide basically gives you the whole workflow for optimizing your view. And these aren't just 4 separate tips. They work together like a system. First, you freeze those panes to lock in your context. Second, you just rotate your phone to landscape. It's the simplest trick for an instantly wider view. Third, get a little ruthless and hide any columns you don't need right now. And finally, apply alternating colors to make the rows way easier to read. Altogether, these steps create a focused, clean workspace, even on a tiny screen.
So when we put all these strategies together, mastering the gestures, using the AI, and maximizing our view, we make a really critical shift.
We move from just trying to survive doing work on our phones to actually thriving with it.
And honestly, this is the ultimate takeaway. The goal isn't to compromise or just make a good enough for mobile version of your work. By adopting these mobile-first strategies, you can actually close the performance gap between your desktop and your phone. You can complete even your most important tasks with confidence and precision, no matter where you happen to be.
So, I'll leave you with this question. By ditching those old, clunky habits and really embracing the power of the mobile app, you're no longer limited by your location. You are in full control. The power is literally in your hands. So, what important work are you going to get done next?